These liars that you're interviewing over the transatlantic cable are the people responsible for telling us the lies about Iraq, which have killed 1 million people. Why do you treat them so seriously and with such veneration? They're proven liars.
David Frum,
we probably were taken seriously because we pay our own bills.
No difference being made in George Galloway's mind between Hezbollah, Hamas and the State of Israel?
Well, I mean, his sympathies are notorious, as are, of course, his associates, as are, of course, his business interests.
Isn't the point, though, as we heard at the end, that at the moment the US administration is in danger of punishing a state without any evidence whatsoever of nuclear military activity?
Well, that's not quite right. The National Intelligence Estimate said the Iranians had closed down their military nuclear weapons development program. But it also acknowledged that Iran continued to enrich uranium that could be used in this way. And I think one of the things that is a real flaw in the NIE, and one of the things that has raised a lot of concern throughout the world and Europe, has been that it seems a little bit gullible of the U.S. intelligence communities to take the Iranian claims at face value about what they want this uranium for.
Well, we can believe the American intelligence, or we can believe the people who told us the lies about Iraq. I mean, how many wars are we going to sleepwalk into?
Well,
how many wars are we going to allow these crazed neocons,
this is
who are, by the way, on the payroll of the Zionist lobby in the United States? He's talking about paying the own
Mr. Galloway, I really wouldn't use the word payroll if I were you.
This man is a notorious bagman for the Zionist lobby.
George Galloway, this is big rhetoric, but if you come back to those specific concerns, for example, that actually some of that intelligence, the intelligence report, was quite gullible.
Well, I mean, who are we to say the United States intelligence services are gullible? Not only is there no evidence that Iran is not developing a nuclear weapon, the American intelligence has told us that the evidence is that they have abandoned it. Now, you could go on to discuss why Israel's allowed to have nuclear weapons, but Iran is not. But to propose war, which is what Bush is in the region for, war against a country that his own intelligence service says doesn't have nuclear weapons, in the service of a country which has hundreds of nuclear weapons, illegally held, undeclared, and subject to no international regulation.
David Frum, George Galloway.
As I say, if I were Mr. Galloway, I really wouldn't use the word payroll, because on this side of the Atlantic we do have the First Amendment and people can respond accordingly. But
you're welcome anytime.
Actually, there is actually very little possibility of a U.S.-Iranian conflict, and that has been subsiding. And one of the things that is really a fascinating question about the direction of the U.S.-Iran relationship is that since the publication of the NIE, there have been a lot of voices in the United States, including some of those so-called crazed neocons, including myself, who have said the United States should be proposing a more open relationship with Iran, should be proposing now to have direct contacts, precisely in the knowledge that the real impediment to a closer relationship is the Iranians themselves. They profit from this conflict. And when, it was only just recently that the head of the Iranian state, the real head of the Iranian state, said that he would not accept any kind of direct connection with the United States. It's important for the United States not to look like the intransigent party here. It is Iran that requires this conflict.
In that case, if that is what this is all about, why would President Bush, on his first trip to Israel, on the first day of a Middle East peace process visit, kick off by pointing the finger at Iran and calling it a threat in the past, a threat in the present, and a threat in the future? Why is that conciliatory?
They had just buzzed American warships. I mean, one of the things that is a real mystery about Iranian behavior, and you saw this with your own Royal Navy, is at any moment when things look like there might be a promising turn to the Iranian-Western relationship, there is an attack, some kind of violation of international law, some kind of kidnapping has happened to the British, some kind of buzzing of American warships has happened recently in the Gulf that makes it impossible. And even if it's true that we have less to worry about from an Iranian nuclear program than we thought, it doesn't mean there's nothing else to worry about. There's a lot else to worry about.
I think there's